Hip, hip, tally-ho.
Don't take the mick. Jolly good, splendid. At a tally-ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London and tell you fascinating facts about this city. And don't forget, I've got lots of other videos about London, so check out some of my other playlists. Remember to subscribe as well. Today, we're wandering around Clerkenwell. First, I just want to correct an error I made in my other video about Rotherhithe, in which I claim, through no fault of my own, that Fagin from Oliver Twist lives down near Tower Bridge. He didn't. He actually lives down here in Saffron Hill with his gang of pickpockets. Annoyingly, Southwark Council have put up a plaque down there saying that that's where he lived. So naturally, I assumed it was true, but it's not.
Why did they think that though?
Because they thought it because that's where Bill Sikes meets his doom at the end of the book. But look, we're just going to start off down here, walking across Farringdon Road, which is today is actually a pretty ugly, big, busy road. But originally, this used to be the River Fleet, which has been culverted now. They covered it up, and actually that's the reason why this whole area is called Holborn, because hole as in hollow, meaning valley, and burn meaning river. So that valley down there, where the river ran, was, Holborn.
You don't know who you're looking at, now have a look at me. I'm a bit of a knob, I am, I belong to royalty.
So Farringdon Station, back in 1863, this was the first terminus, I suppose, of the first underground line in the world. It went from Paddington to Farringdon. Which is why if you travel along this stretch of the line, the tunnels and the platform interiors are so much nicer and more grand. Is that possibly because they had to accommodate steam-operated trains? I don't know, I'll have to ask my friend Jeff Marshall, he'd know.
I'll tell you how it came about. I married Widow Birch, and I was King of England when I toddled.
Was it you who was telling me that this pub is the only one in London that has two licences? A licence to be a pawnbroker and also a pub licence. King George IV, he'd gamble on the cockfights in the pub, but because he was always such a spendthrift, he was always out of money, he had to loan his watch to the barman, and so he granted him a licence as a pawnbroker, which is why you can see the three balls up there.
Max, you can also be seen in your other video as well.
Yes, yeah, I know. We are covering a bit of ground that I've covered in other videos, but I'm afraid that's the way it goes. Sometimes, because not everyone has seen that video, you see. But this is Cow Cross Street. Now, I like the names of the streets around here, because it's called Cow Cross Street because down there, well, I didn't want to film because it's all very ugly, full of building work. That road, Farringdon Road, which we crossed, like I mentioned before, was originally the River Fleet, and the tube trains run along the side of the River Fleet, but they culverted it, this river, so which means they covered it up and they turned it into I think they turned it into a sewer actually, but anyway, the river runs underground now. Back in like the 10th century, all these farmers and stuff would bring their cattle down from the fields and they would cross over this river to Smithfield Market, well, which was called Smoothfield back in those days. Hence the name Cow Cross Street. How's that? Did that make sense? Hit stop. Well, that's it. You've got to stay in front. Yeah, it didn't used to look like that. Obviously, it's only in the 19th century. Horace Jones designed that beautiful building. He was the guy who also designed Tower Bridge and Leadenhall Market, where you can go and see Diagon Alley.
Outside, the people started shouting a parade. Said, I get down upon your knees, it's coronation.
It's been trading as a dead meat market since the 19th century, but actually, this is the oldest wholesale meat market in London, because there's been a market here on Smoothfield, as it was known back in those days, since the 10th century. I'm not quite sure how much longer they're going to be trading as a market. It seems pretty dead these days. In the old days, they used to have these people called rowmen. A rowman is not somebody who rows a boat. He's a guy who gets all the meat off the truck and he hangs it on the hooks in the right order and all this sort of stuff. And I mean, all that stuff's sort of dying out now.
Do you know what a bummery is?
Of course I do.
What is a bummery? It sounds a bit rude.
So a bummery is a self-employed porter. And there was it in the old days, well, not so much the old days, when I was a kid and my dad was up here, you couldn't bring your meat out yourself like I am now. You had to have a bummery to do it for you. You couldn't touch your own meat. You could buy it, pay for it, but you couldn't put it from there to there.
So I suppose it must have changed quite a lot since then, like all the hooks and stuff. I mean, is it going to last, this market, or what?
I don't know. They keep on saying it year after year after year. It's going to move, it's going to move, it's going to... Still here. You ain't going nowhere.
Is it family business then? Was your dad?
We are, yeah. We're 88 years, yeah. Wow. 1931. Yeah, my granddad. There's 4 generations in it now. This goes to my shop in Wells Street, Hackney.
Good stuff. How long will all that lot last you then?
Oh, just for today, then I'm back tomorrow.
That will last one day?
This is just a little bit for today. But tomorrow it'll be up here. And on Thursday it'll be to the roof.
Wait, you sell that much meat in a day? There's a lot. I thought everyone was going vegetarian.
Yeah, no.
It's all rubbish, isn't it?
Do you remember that other guy we saw last time we were filming here? I think I got on his nerves though.
See, all these markets changed. That's how the market was when I come up here, with all the swinging hooks, you know. It's changed though, it's just changed, but not for the better. They used to have sawdust up here and a lot of characters up here years ago. All the pubs was open, you know, you could have some laughs, but now, not the same up there. I've just loaded my van up all wrong, as I'm talking here.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't touch raw meats myself. As a child, I'd weep in butcher shops. The reason I'm coming back is there's so much history here. Martyrdom, executions, and of course, wife selling. If, like me, you had to read The Mayor of Casterbridge at school, he sells his wife at the beginning of that and then regrets it for the rest of the novel. Can't sell sisters, unfortunately. That's In the 18th and 19th centuries, it was quite expensive to divorce, and you needed an Act of Parliament, and magistrates, they turned a blind eye to this essentially illegal act. So you bring your wife down to the auction on a halter, there, on a little rope. Then after the auction, you would hand over, as a ceremonial action, the halter to the new husband. So then you get a town cry with a big bell, you'd go through the, oh yay, Mr. Jones has sold his wife to Mr. Carruthers for £1. The most recent one was in 1911, up in Leeds. I went to market, sold wife. How much you get for her? I sold her for £1, and she was grateful. Sir William Wallace, famous Scottish national hero, portrayed by Mel Gibson in Braveheart. I'm not quite sure how accurate that was. However, he was hung, drawn and quartered. They dragged him behind a horse from Tower of London to here. Then they hanged you until you were almost dead, and then they cut off your testicles, stuck them in your mouth, nice, cut out your intestines, burnt them in front of you, and as if that wasn't enough, they would also cut off your arms and your legs. And then, if that didn't do the trick, they'd chop off your head as well. In his case, they dipped it in tar and they put it onto a spike on London Bridge.
What about what?
What? Oh, what? What, Tyler? Yeah.
The peasants are revolting, sir.
The peasants were revolting in 1381 when Wat Tyler and his group of peasants came here to meet King Richard II. Richard II, he was only 14 years old. They were getting on okay until Wat Tyler decided to rinse his mouth out in a very discourteous fashion. And so a scuffle broke out, and then William Walworth, the Lord Mayor of London no less, charged forward and he stabbed him.
I'm Henry the Eighth, I am. Henry the Eighth, I am. I got married to the widow next.
Up Charterhouse Street, around the corner from the meat market, the Fox and Anchor. This is one of those market pubs which is open really early in the morning, and you can come for your breakfast and have a pint at sort of 8 in the morning. Although these days it's more kind of people who work in the city and stuff like that.
£9. 9 quid for a breakfast.
£9, is it? All right, yeah. So we can go for a
Fry up.
bacon sarnie and a greasy spoon around the corner.
She's been married 7 times before. Everyone was an Henry.
These days it's mostly office people and stuff around the corner in the pub. So most of the butchers and the meat traders come down here to your authentic Bepe's Cafe, which has been here since 1932. Cheers! All right. That bloke on the wall up there, is his granddad. That's his dad and his brother.
Buonissimo. Benissimo is very well. Buonissimo is very good.
Buono.
Buono.
Così buono.
I'm staying here now. You're an authentic builder's cafe.
I'm a rightful man named Henry. I'm Henry the Eighth.
Are those the ramps that would bring the cattle to the slaughterhouse? The original Farringdon Station was a bit close to here and it had special
Might just
ramps.
be a ramp they built for a car park.
When they blow up MI6 in Skyfall, James Bond goes down there, doesn't he, to go and see M?
Jousting. Well, it's nice to know that people used to joust down here.
Yes, okay, all right, they had jousting here as well. I can't go through everything, like the fact that a lot of tour guides will tell you that Bloody Mary used to sit at her window up there and watch the Protestants being burned, but that's just bolarks, actually, because that building wasn't even built until after she died, I think. Anyway, you can see that and St Bartholomew's Church behind there in my other film about churches. There's too much stuff around here, though. I don't want to keep on repeating myself. I'm beginning to sound senile.
I left the Duke of Cumberland, a pub up in the town. Soon with one or two moochers I was holding up the crown.
Yes, this is St John's Gate, one of the few remains of the Priory of the Knights of St John, otherwise known as the Knights Hospitaller. Now, actually, the headquarters of the St John Ambulance. They've also got a really nice museum inside, which tells you all the history of the knights who used to look after pilgrims who fell sick in Jerusalem. It's had a varied life over the years. 1731, it was actually where Dr. Samuel Johnson used to contribute pages to the first ever magazine, the Gentleman's Magazine. Wat Tyler, who led the Peasants' Revolt, burnt down the original gate in 1381. They must have been really revolting. This one's still pretty old though, 1504.
Out came the potman saying, "Get on home to bed." Said I, "Now say another word and off we'll go."
I do love a square which is slightly pedestrianised with some off-street drinking and a Metropolitan Drinking Fountain and Cattle Trough Association trough. This is where in Oliver Twist the artful Dodger steals Mr. Brownlow's handkerchief and Oliver gets the blame. That building over there just behind me is the Karl Marx Memorial Library, and in 1892 Britain's first socialist press moved there, the 20th Century Press. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, who actually lived in London for a while, issued the first 17 issues of his paper Iskra there. If you are interested in why it's called Clerkenwell, it's named after the Clerks Well, which you can actually see inside here. You actually have to make an appointment if you want them to open the doors to let you look at it, but you can just look through the window. And what will you see? A well. That's all there is. A clerk in Old English meant a learned man or a member of the clergy. The whole area was well known for having members of the clergy come and put on biblical themed plays. This is that funny restaurant where you can dine in the dark. What compels somebody to want to eat in the dark? I don't know.
She's been married 7 times before. Everyone was an enemy.
Cheers everybody, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out some of my other playlists. I've got lots of other videos about London. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel by hitting the red button. And if you want to find out more about me, just head over to my website, joolzguides.com, where you can book a private guided tour with me if you like, or leave a donation. Cheers, see you next time folks.